Good evening, everyone. I would like to start our meeting by noting this is the community's house. We are all guests in it, here to serve our community. My name is Acting Mayor Ma, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the regular meeting of Council for the District of North Van on Monday, July 8th. We're going to start off with our land acknowledgement. Councillor Back, would you do us the honor, please?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Ma. We respectfully acknowledge the original peoples of these lands and waters, specifically the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam, on whose unceded ancestral lands the District of North Vancouver is located. We value the opportunity to learn, share, and serve our community on these unceded lands.
Thank you, Councillor Back. Before we adopt the agenda, with the consent of Council, I would like to vary the order of the agenda as follows. We're going to begin the meeting with some special recognitions, followed by item 6, the release of some closed meeting decisions. And then we will resume the meeting agenda with public input. With those changes, will someone please move adoption of the agenda? Councillor Murray, seconder. Councillor Hanson. I will now call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. There are no minutes for adoption. As we have varied the agenda, the first item is the Bear Smart Community Program. And I'm going to call on Nicola to introduce the group.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship and members of Council. We are joined today by representatives from the Conservation Office to designate the District of North Vancouver as a Bear Smart community. This well-regarded designation recognizes the collective efforts to reduce of our community to reduce human-bear conflict. I'm joined by Michael Toland and Sophie Goodman from our Solid Waste Department, who have acted as our district staff leads on this effort, and without their hard work, we would not be here tonight. We are also joined by Christine Miller from the North Shore Black Bear Society, who was instrumental in achieving the status throughout the process. I now invite Chief Conservation Officer Cam Schley and South Coast Regional Inspector Simon Gravel to address the Council.
Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure and honor to be here. I'm Cam Schley, the Chief Conservation Officer for the Province of British Columbia. And it's today we're proud to present the District of North Vancouver with designation as a Bear Smart community. The District of North Vancouver has demonstrated an ongoing commitment to the Bear Smart program through the planning process, the implementation of changes to local bylaws and the solid waste management system, and an ongoing effort to educate the public. The District of North Vancouver has completed thorough bear hazard assessments, extensive public education and outreach, the North Shore Fruit Tree Project for moving fruit available to bears, and to date 50,000 bear-resistant bins have been put into use in the district. The BC Conservation Officer Service would like to take this opportunity to recognize the hard work and outstanding contribution made by the District of North Vancouver. In particular, Sophie Goodman and Christine Miller of the North Shore Bear Society, and Ann Howard of the Wild Safe program. Congratulations, District of North Vancouver, on being a leader in the Metro Vancouver area and providing an example to other communities on how to coexist with bears.
Thank you. It is my pleasure as acting mayor on behalf of this council this evening. Sorry, to speak as acting mayor on behalf of council this evening. I'd like to start by providing a little bit of background information about this program. This is a learning experience for myself, so this has been great. This program was first initiated by the province in the year 2002. The Bear Smart Community Program aims to minimize human-bear conflicts, reduce the number of unnecessary bear deaths, and promote wildlife conservation across BC. At the district, we applied to the Bear Smart program back in 2021 after many years of working towards fulfilling the 6 criteria. And the criteria are preparing a bear hazard assessment, developing a human bear conflict management plan, revising plan and decision-making documents, implementing a continuing education program, developing and maintaining a bear-resistant waste management system, and implementing bear smart bylaws. Living safely along local wildlife, especially bears, is a shared responsibility. The community's commitment to managing food sources that attract bears is crucial for maintaining their natural habitat. Tonight, we are proud that the District of North End is one of 13 communities across BC to be declared a bear smart community. You can clap again. Official designation as a bear smart community is a testament to the hard work and collective efforts of our residents, past and present councils, staff, and community partners have taken to ensure that the safety of the community and protect the local bear population. Our longstanding collaboration with the North Shore Black Bear Society and other community members has been instrumental in achieving this designation. Effective waste management is key to preventing bears from accessing it as a food source. By strengthening our solid waste bylaw and employing waste compliant officers, we have taken essential steps at the district to manage attractants. Active, ongoing education efforts done by the district and supported by the North Shore Black Bear Society help to keep wildlife attractant management top of mind. On behalf of the District of North Vancouver Council, thank you very much. I now invite Christine Miller of the North Shore Black Bear Society to say a few words.
Good evening, Acting Mayor Ma and councillors. It's a special evening. So the District of North Vancouver has been a bear smart community without the official status for quite a few years. The municipality adopted more progressive bylaws, invested a lot of money in a bear resistant solid waste system, and worked alongside and supported the education programs of the North Shore Black Bear Society. The Mayor and Council, staff, North Shore Black Bear Society, and residents are committed to helping to reduce prevention of bear deaths. Before I close, I would like to introduce the leadership team that I've had the pleasure of working with in 2024. So Holly Reisner, if you could stand. So Holly has been job sharing with me this year and will be assuming the full responsibilities of education director when I retire in November. And Holly is skilled, knowledgeable, and committed. And she's so committed that she changed her flight to Italy to tomorrow so that she could be with us tonight for this celebration. Yeah. Kirsten Takashiba joined us in March of this year. She's a trained teacher and very creative and very knowledgeable. So she's our program coordinator and does amazing things with educating people of all ages. And many of you know Tom Sayre. Tom is our knowledgeable and dedicated volunteer. I don't know what else to say about him. He's magnificent. He knows everything about bears and he works very generously with us. So thanks, Tom. Our leadership team and the board of directors, who we represent, feel fortunate to work and volunteer in this progressive community that values and respects wildlife. And we congratulate the municipality for being recognized as an official Bear Smart community. Thank you.
Can we just get in front to take a photo? Thank you.
All of you, yeah, and you want council? Yeah, so everyone can go right in front.
Perfect. So if you're a little taller, you're gonna be in the back. You know who's gonna be in the front, right? Yeah. Yeah, perfect. So we'll do a couple rows. So you're gonna be up front. Otherwise, we're not gonna be able to see you. You can stand just in the back. Just there you go. If you go right behind Peter, there we go. Okay, yeah, everyone, and then we're gonna get some people right in front too, for sure. We'll go right beside Peter. Good. Yeah, we're gonna come. Yeah.
Well, that was fun. Okay. We're going to move on now to item 6, release of closed meeting decisions. I will now ask the clerk to read into the record part of a summary of item 6.1, improper conduct at a council meeting policy.
Thank you, through your worship. The improper conduct at a council meeting policy provides council with the ability to address improper conduct of individuals at council meetings. Improper conduct includes engaging in bullying or harassing behavior in respect of a council member, government official, or district employee, speaking disrespectfully of any other person or using any rude or offensive language, engaging in rude or offensive conduct, or disrupting or unnecessarily delaying the conduct of business at council meetings.
Thank you, clerk. Moving on now to the regular order of the agenda. We're going to proceed with public input as the next item. Council reserves up to 30 minutes at each regular council meeting for public input. We have a list of speakers who have signed up in advance. Just a reminder that there's a limit of 3 minutes per speaker. And the first speaker is John Sharp, followed by Cindy Gerlach. Just double checking. Okay, Mr. Sharp is not here. We'll go to the second speaker, Cindy Gerlach. Welcome, Cindy. Nice to see you again.
Thank you, Acting Mayor and Council. I'm here today to support the motion at 8.9 that Councillor Pope has brought forward to you. I am the current chair of the North Shore Accessibility, Advisory Committee on Disability Issues. I'm also here as a parent and a community member. What we're asking for and what we're hoping that you will support is incredibly important to the disability community. What happened to my colleague on the committee is something that happens regularly, whether to that extent or not. Ableism is something we face every single day. It hurts. And we as a disability community actually face far more bullying and harassment than non-disabled people. So in order to try and make our community, the district in North Vancouver and also the North Shore, it is important that we recognize and that we understand that people don't by nature want to be bystanders, but they also don't know how to support. And so I think by supporting what Councillor Pope has brought forward and also the recommendations or the asks in the letter before you tonight is a way to support the community in understanding and acknowledging that we live in the community every single day. I have witnessed myself and my boys have witnessed and been part of a challenge from being in the stores to being in libraries to being in the rec centers. So my hope is that you will support Councillor Pope's motion tonight and that we as a community can start building together and that we can make the district of North Vancouver the safest place and the most inclusive place on the North Shore. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gerlach. The next speaker up is Robert Armstrong, followed by Mike Neufeld. Is Robert here? Okay. Mr. Armstrong's online. You have 3 minutes to address council. Oh,
We could go to Mike first if you'd like, and then go back.
Yeah,
Okay.
you've got my info here, but I can go now if you want.
thank you.
Sure, we can go with him and go back to Rupert.
Oh, sure. Let's go.
The name changed, but the face looks the same.
Okay, is it my turn?
Can you hear me? This is Bob Armstrong.
Sorry, Mike, if you can just wait a second or wait a couple minutes, we'll have Mike, we'll have Robert Armstrong go first.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Ma. Can I share a screen, please?
Thank you, through your worship. Mr. Armstrong, if you'd like to share your screen, you do have permissions to do so. The icon is in the bottom. There you go. Yes.
Are you able to see it?
Yes.
Great, thank you. This issue relates to your passing on June 17th of the small-scale multi-unit housing bylaw 8698, and I apologize for coming forward now. But I wasn't aware that the associated bylaws and regulations were not going to be included in the bylaw that was passed. And this has a lot of relevance to new construction. And what is missing is the maximum permitted FSR has not been changed. That the basement below the 4-foot level not counted in the FSR means that builders are going to maximize square footage by building below ground. The permitted height of primary building was not addressed and therefore continuing to push space below ground. The coach house size limit of 90 meters square compromises both quality and flexibility and does not take account of the changing outer wall thickness, so that the effective square footage is really 847 square feet. It does not address the requirements for 3 parking spots balanced against green space. And overall, the quality of life, quality of community, and prior public input were not considered when this bylaw was passed. And why is this important to our family? Because we have intended for a number of years to build a coach house, but we have a basement that is above the 4-foot rule. And therefore, we don't have the FSR sufficient to build a coach house. And I want to illustrate, if you can refer to the table there, I want to illustrate what a problem this is and why this doesn't make sense. So 30 some odd years ago, we built an old rundown home that had heritage value. We renovated and upgraded and added to that home to heritage qualifications, recognized actually by the council, by the district as a heritage, as heritage value. It's on a good sized lot, but the basement has to be counted in the FSR, and therefore we have no room to build a coach house. We looked at all of the newer homes that were being built around us, and you can see in the table the total square footage that is now largely below ground in order to meet the FSR. This makes no sense, and this is recognized by the district. In February of 2021, Mr. Hartford acknowledged that we were not able to build a coach house, but he also acknowledged that the rules around the 4-foot basement rule does not make sense, and that at some time in the future that might be changed. Another year later, we addressed Mayor Little, same question, and his response was, the priorities have been changing, and we have seen the negative impacts of basements on hydrology in many neighborhoods. And I suspect a time is coming when we will no longer exempt any basement, but will allow a higher overall gross floor area, removing the incentive to hide mass underground. These changes did not occur yet. In November 2022, we all heard about the provincial initiative around housing. And once again, we wrote the mayor asking whether these issues would get addressed within the new rules of the government. And he said, well, let's wait and see what Premier Eby has to say, and we will proceed from there. In December 2023, the provincial government released the SMUH and TOH scenarios, suggesting that a higher FSR, they said 1.5, and a minimum unit size of 105 meters was should be considered.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
You've run out of your 3 minutes. If you can take a few seconds just to draw to a close, but you can also send this presentation, because I'm very interested myself in this, but if you could send it to council@dnv.org, you know, it will be circulated to all the councillors.
Thank you, Mayor Moore. I didn't realize I'd run out of time, but just to summarize then, we have repeatedly been told that these changes were going to occur as part of the implementation of this, and I was very surprised that it did not occur. We're asking council to actually finish the process so that we can proceed with proper construction. I will distribute it. I have obviously sent this to the mayor and others for a number of years, and yet no action. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Now we have Mike Neufeld, and he's online. Mr. Neufeld, sorry for making you wait. We just had a little mix up in terms of sequence earlier.
No problem. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Acting Mayor and Council. I'm here to follow up on my comments from the June 17th meeting regarding the 700-meter section of Dollarton Highway at Maplewood. I do appreciate Mayor Little creating some dialogue on it later in the meeting. I agree with Councillor Murray's comments that there are some simple measures that the district could take to make a big difference on Dollarton. Examples would be paving and widening the shoulders, fixing potholes, and reorganizing the concrete barriers on the south side of the road to protect rather than obstruct cyclists. I think if councillors or staff simply took a walk carefully along Dollarton, you'd find there are many things that could be done in a matter of weeks that would greatly help us. Please start that process today. I'm going to take a moment to share how important this is to our neighborhood. Let me just try and share my screen here. So this here is what we live steps from Dollarton, which is a flat arterial road. Yet a bike ride with the family looks like this. Here's my 9-year-old pushing her bike up the stairs of McCartney Creek Gully, and that's after scrambling down a narrow goat trail on the other side, with me carrying my 6-year-old's bike along with my own. Now it's a beautiful trail, and hopefully this is character building, but it's not a practical cycling route at all. Now we do this because, on the other hand, cycling on Dollarton looks like this. It's a mess. Potholes everywhere, no shoulder and no bike lanes. To the north, we have a blind left turn onto Mount Seymour Parkway. Now, fortunately, there's already a template for what a short-term fix should look like on Dollarton, and that's the work that the district and TransLink have nearly completed on Riverside Drive. It's almost the same length as the Dollarton section and has similar parameters, and it was completed in a matter of weeks at minimal cost. Meanwhile, the district just embarked on repaving the western section of Dollarton, which was in much better condition than the Maplewood section. Why did the district decide to repave 1.5 meters of Dollarton, or 1.5 kilometers of Dollarton, but stop short of the 700 meters that needs it the most? I'd like to close by saying Dollarton is not a 5-year plan kind of project. It's a long overdue basic road work project that can and should be done this year. Please make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neufeld. We still have some time for up to 6 additional speakers. We do have someone online. Hazen Colbert. Mr. Colbert, are you online? Okay, we're just in the process of moving you over. Okay, please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to address council. Mr. Colbert?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. It's an odd situation. I didn't think I'd be speaking at the public input. I thought I would be speaking at the agenda item. I'm speaking specifically to agenda item 8.3, which is the Red Bricks development application. And I had sent some, and again, I'm going to just check to make sure you can hear me because I've got multiple devices here in front of me. If you can't hear me, just wave your hand. I sent an email to council through both your individual emails as well as the dnv.org email on this subject, because I live not more than 50 meters away from this site, and I found that there were a huge number of errors in the development application. I'm not going to repeat everything that I said or I wrote in that email, but during the day today, I can confirm something that I did find out by speaking to the land office. And there is a statement made in that development application that there is an easement between what's called the Dakota, which is addressed at 1111 Lynn Valley Road, and the two properties, 1149 and 1155 Lynn Valley Road. I can confirm that there is not an easement. And while I speak, I will say, if I can through the chair, Mr. Milburn will understand this from his education, why there is no easement. The two properties, 1149 and 1155, are presently separate properties. The land assembly has not been completed. And because there are separate properties, there cannot be an easement between 1111 and 1155 because 1149 is blocking an easement. What has to happen for an easement to exist is that 1111 must agree to an easement with 1155 1149. And then 1149 must seek an easement with 1155, with the condition that 1111 has agreed. That hasn't happened. So my position here is that for a number of reasons, this development application is premature. Until you have that, until the proponent has the easements, and there are 2 of them that are required, until they have those easements, this project cannot proceed. And there are other reasons not to proceed, but I think that it's the responsibility of staff to advise the developer and the proponent. They need to get these easements taken care of beforehand. I've been through these easements issues before. This isn't a simple issue. It can actually take years to fix. So that's all I want to say, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Colbert. We still have some time for some speakers. Are there any other speakers in the gallery or online that want to give some public input to council? Raise your hands. Okay. Seeing none, that concludes our, just making sure no one's online. Okay. That concludes our public input portion of the meeting. Moving on to item number 5, delegation. We have a delegation this evening from the North Shore Young Civic Forum. Typically, we provide delegations with up to 5 minutes to present to council. However, I'd like to provide this group with 10 minutes to present on 2 topics. I'm going to invite Hussein up with the North Shore Young Civic Forum and ask them to introduce themselves. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Your Worship. Good evening, Council.
Hi, my name is Christina Radvac. This is Hassan Morelli, and we're here to introduce the North Shore Young Civic Forum, a program run by the North Shore Community Resource Society's Democratic Cafe Initiative. The North Shore Young Civic Forum is a nonpartisan civic engagement and experiential civic education program that gets 18 to 39-year-old individuals more engaged with their local governments. This is our 4th cohort. The forum has been wildly successful in getting young residents of the North Shore more involved with their municipal politics.
Forum alumni such as Charlene Seward, Christina Cassidy, and Cynthia Luo serve on DNV committees, as well as Paula Blendel currently serves on the Community Services Advisory Committee, who you'll hear from in just a moment. Christina and I have both gone through the program at different points, and the program has had a tangible impact on the civic engagement of younger residents across the North Shore. We wouldn't be able to do this without the support of council. I think almost every member of council has come and addressed the forum at some point, as well as staff, including the clerk and Jason Smith. So we're very appreciative of the ongoing support of council. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we're the first presentation tonight. Good evening, I am Camille. And I'm Julia. We are here from the North Shore Youth Civic Forum, and we will be speaking to you about young people's housing needs on the North Shore. We're gathered here on the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam and Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh people. We are here today to present the findings of a survey focused on the housing needs of young people with connections to the District of North Vancouver. We will go over the background of our work, our methods, and discuss the findings of our survey and analysis of results. We will then conclude with a few recommendations based on what we found.
When discussing what important issues we wanted to talk about in our Young Civic Forum, we found that housing was a topic that was very important to young adults. It kept coming up in conversation. Taking this into consideration, along with the district's goals, we decided to explore this topic further. For our survey, we surveyed young adults anonymously through an online survey. We considered young adults, people aged 18 to 39, in line with the North Shore Young Civic Forum's age range, and also the age that is declining in population in the district, and asked all participants to have a connection to the District of North Vancouver.
The next few slides we'll go over are three main findings: affordability, quality of life in housing, and housing wants. Affordability is the top concern for people looking for housing in the DNB. However, there's variability in how people would define affordable. The majority of respondents did mention that 30% or less of their net income spent on housing would be affordable. 90% of the people surveyed mentioned affordability as one of the biggest challenges to find suitable housing in the DNB. Our next finding takes a look at how affordability plays a role in housing anxiety and quality of life. Over 85% of respondents stated that they are experiencing or experienced housing anxiety. Most cited that the cost of living, risk of being unhoused, and housing insecurity drove their housing anxiety. Participants provided their own thoughts, including the desire to be able to afford rent and dinner at the same time, and that their paychecks cannot appropriately cover the costs of housing in North Vancouver. We also asked if participants were living in suitable housing and if their housing was in good repair. A quarter of respondents said that their household does not have enough bedrooms, and almost 10% were living in inadequate housing. The main takeaway is that while most respondents are living in adequate housing, there is great concern and anxiety about the current and future housing situation in North Vancouver for young people. 3/4 of respondents identified access to reliable and rapid transportation as a very important factor to their housing needs and wants. Many written responses expressed that it's difficult to find housing in the DMV with access to reliable public transportation. Home ownership is another desire of many young people. However, most are unsure or do not believe that home ownership is attainable in the DMV. While home ownership is becoming difficult in many areas of Metro Vancouver, there are other possible housing aspects or initiatives to address that can ensure young people are attracted to live and stay in the DNB. Once again, affordability appeared as a significant desire and want from housing options on the North Shore. That includes different models of housing to support improved affordability, including rent-to-own options, below-market rentals, and cooperative housing. Finally, participants did feel that more work could be done to increase the availability of supportive and social housing, particularly for equity-seeking groups.
We want to recognize the significant progress that has been made by the district and council on housing in recent years, especially with important affordable housing projects seeing completion recently, such as the Lal Apartments. We also want to share some recommendations connected to our findings. First, we recommend the District of North Vancouver conduct a housing survey to better understand the needs and experiences of its young residents. As noted in the 2030 Community Plan goals, the district wants to encourage, enable a diverse mix of housing type, tenure, and affordability to accommodate the lifestyles and needs of people at all stages of life. Our findings, similar to the 2021 Housing Needs Report, highlight affordability issues, but also unique challenges faced by young adults, such as people in this stage of life doubting their ability to ever be homeowners if they stay in the District of North Vancouver. By ensuring that there is engagement with young adults on housing through surveys or otherwise, the district could benefit by learning and understanding these nuances and consequently having more information to guide the goal of enabling housing for people at all stages of life. Additionally, the community plan emphasizes diverse housing choices with a range of facilities and services. Given the emphasis of our findings on transportation and quality of life, we recommend incorporating these elements when engaging young adults about their housing needs and using these findings to inform planning and decision-making. Lastly, we recommend the District of North Vancouver continue and expand on the work and opportunity areas identified in the Housing Needs Report with a young people-oriented lens. As we see a lower percentage of people aged 20 to 44 in the district compared to in this region, and also witness this number continuing to decline, this approach is essential for attracting and retaining young people and making sure that people, as the community plan states, are equally welcomed, valued, and actively engaged in community life. We would like to close off by thanking your worship and council for your time and all your work and what you have done on housing and engagement thus far. We would also like to extend our thanks to district staff, the North Shore Young Civic Forum coordinators, and our survey participants. Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you for your presentation. And thank you also for taking the time to engage your fellow residents and council on these very important issues. As you know, housing is one of the top issues for this council. I'm going to ask council now, do you have any clarifying questions? I see Councillor Back.
Thank you very much. Just want to thank everyone in the North Shore Young Civic Forum for once again providing your input and your energy and your time to provide feedback on so many important topics in our community as they relate to younger adults. This is such an important initiative that I've had the pleasure of supporting since the very first one, which I think was 5 years ago, 2019. There we go. So thank you to North Shore Community Resources and Hassan for keeping this going. And I think we need to hear from young people on a regular basis on these issues that affect, I would say, your demographic the most. Housing is certainly something that we talk about just about at every council meeting, but it really is, young people and future generations that are going to be impacted on those decisions that we make. So, I was struck by a couple of your suggestions in terms of your recommendations, including number 3, that the district enhance its engagement with young people regarding specific needs, for younger people, including housing and transportation. And I did bring forward a motion based on I guess it was after the first cohort, around creating a youth and younger adults advisory committee. It did receive support from council. It didn't get implemented in the end, but I would like you to know that I do intend to bring that back because I would like to see a youth and younger adults advisory committee or youth council, which I think the district would be very well served by to receive, your perspective and your ideas, like I say, on a more regular basis, not just once a year. I was also struck by some of the information that came back, in your survey that 60% of people want to see more duplexes and triplexes when it comes to housing, something that we don't really permit in the district to any great extent. And certainly our most recent response to the small scale multi-unit housing is still not going to really permit those forms of housing. So I think we need to hear what you're saying, and I certainly do, and just want to thank you for all your efforts and for coming and presenting tonight. Thank you.
Actually, Councillor Pope is also going to speak.
Thank you very much for your report. I very much appreciate how much you've looked at the housing affordability question, because it's one of my top priorities on council. And I'm interested in the survey of housing needs of young people. But I have to say, we have plenty of evidence already that we desperately need affordable housing and non-market housing in the district of North Vancouver. And we know that affordability is the top concern among residents here, including young people. And we also know they're moving out of here at a great rate because they simply cannot afford to live here. So you might be interested in knowing that despite the fact that we know all this, the majority on council here recently voted against single family multi-unit housing to align with the provincial legislation that required everyone to have 4 units on a single family home zone. And so that's what you're dealing with here. We know this is a problem, but there is not the will at this council table to make a difference.
Excuse me, Councillor Pope, if you can ask clarifying questions.
So I'm just wondering, one of the things we've learned is that in one of the presentations we're hearing from tonight and the projects that's on the table is they're defining affordability as somebody who makes, for a 2-bedroom unit as somebody who makes $80,000 to $135,000 a year for a 2-bedroom unit. And 30 to 80 for a 1-bedroom unit. Does that seem affordable to you?
I'm just looking at my colleague here, Camille, and I know that neither one of us that's affordable for. Most of the people that I have worked with and grown up with have become very educated. They cannot find jobs in order to support that definition of affordability. I also think about the people who do not come from privileged backgrounds, who, you know, for one reason or another, don't even meet the threshold for different types of supports. So it was quite interesting to hear that, you know, folks do identify affordability as their top concern, but I do get a sense that folks are uncertain because of all these definitions coming together.
Yeah.
So this is why engagement, especially with different underrepresented demographics, would really serve in order to create a holistic and equitable definition of affordability.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a second group that's presenting. Okay.
Thank you, and I'd like to move receipt of this delegation.
There's still a second part to the delegation.
Oh, do we want to do them separately though?
They are gonna, we're gonna allow them to,
Oh, you're doing the next one too?
There's-
Oh, another group. Okay,
it's the same group.
Oh.
We gave them a little extra time.
yeah, okay. All right, thank you for your presentation and the information. Were you surprised in regards to the comments? I'm not sure what page it's on. It's quality of life, just the information in regards to my housing is suitable, 74.5%, and my housing is adequate, 19.9%. Were you surprised by that? I'm not sure what page it's on. It's finding 2, but there's 2 findings.
Oh, my housing is
This
suitable, and it says the household has enough bedrooms to meet the needs of household members.
Yeah,
Is that the one you're referring
yeah,
to?
yeah.
I think, at least to me, it wasn't necessarily surprising. It was maybe disappointing, but I think we see more and more people our age still living at home because they cannot afford to rent or buy their own place. That is not an option. So that ends up being where someone's trying to maybe start a family or, you know, trying to start a life with their partner or something similar, but unable to move out of their parents' house. So that is a situation where the housing might not be adequate in terms of bedrooms, but there isn't an option to move out because of affordability. I'm not sure if Julia has something to add.
For some definitions regarding whether or not housing is in good repair or so on and so forth, it would require additional analysis of the data in order to tease out a little bit, in order to find if these are renters, because we do hear more often than not that renters do live in precarious housing situation where their housing might not be in the best repair either. And, you know, just taking a step back and taking a look at the demographics that make up the district of North Vancouver, we're a highly affluent community. So it is quite shocking to see that, you know, the percentage of folks that do report that their housing is not adequate and it's not in good repair.
But this is saying it is, their housing is adequate on your graph, right? That's right. And 9.1% said it's not.
Right, but I think 9.1% still, it's a testament that there are folks falling through the cracks and not living in adequate housing.
Right. And would you surmise that might be part of the percentage of the yes camp might be multi-generational housing?
It could possibly, but again, further analysis and especially increasing the survey poll would definitely provide a more robust and informed
No, it's good
answer.
information.
Yeah.
It's, I think I think we will take you up on your suggestion of doing a housing survey and a livability survey. We've done those over the years, and they bring forward really good information. Did you consider talking about or asking the questions about the protection of existing affordable housing? Because we've got a significant amount of it that is threatened. And which is truly affordable, multifamily affordable, but older. Did you consider including that in the survey or a future survey possibly?
Very much so. We would welcome a question that would specifically drill into that on any for future iterations of the survey. While there wasn't a specific question asked to that, a few folks did mention in their own written responses that one of the huge factors that play into their housing anxiety is the concern that, you know, their housing, be it a older development, it might be coming to the end of life, being demolished, sold for XYZ reason. So there is concern, and
it was it was included or thought of in the answers.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
And my last question to you would be, are you going to be doing the same survey in the city of North Van and the district of West Vancouver? Housing knows no boundaries on the North Shore or any other part of the region. So anyway, I'll leave that food for thought, but thank you very much for your presentation.
Question or comment from Councillor Hanson.
Yeah, well, first, thank you very much for your advocacy on this very important issue. I read all of this material with great interest, especially as I had just visited my 26-year-old daughter, who does not live anywhere near me because of the cost of housing, and had some very strong statements to make about housing and how we have, as a community and as a culture, frankly, failed her. I wanted to focus on one sentence. He said, this is on finding number 1, 0 people, so that's a number we can all relate to, 0 people said the district of North Vancouver had built enough affordable housing. And if I could trouble you to render that next concept, affordable housing, into something more concrete for us. I mean, my daughter works 30 hours a week at approximately $30 an hour. My son does something similar. He's 28 years of age and lives even farther away due to housing issues. You said 30% would represent an affordability range. I suspect the incomes of my children are not wildly aberrant. Could you give us in a number then what you would say is affordable housing? We know that 0 people think that we've created affordable housing. What's the number in your mind that represents a monthly affordable housing? If you could, thank you.
So there are gaps in our survey, and one of the questions we asked was to do with household income rather than individual income. And something we realized from this is that includes the income of people's parents. And I think, do you want to find what percentage of people live with their parents or families and don't pay rent? And so one of our findings was to do with income. However, because it was household income rather than individual income, it's difficult to then, I guess, use that data to see what 30% of a young person's income would be, and therefore what 30% income and what affordable rent could be considered. So on our 5th slide, that's methods. One of the things we asked about is people's housing situation. And we had 40% of people saying that they are living with family or friends. And sorry. And so when asking about household income rather than individual income, we found that this will probably include parents that are older and probably more established in their careers. So it's hard to then see what 30% of young person's income would count as affordable.
My daughter indicated to me that she can afford about $1,300 a month in rent. That's what she can actually afford and have any kind of a life. Do you agree with that? I mean, is that the number we should be aiming for? What is the number we should be aiming for to provide young people with housing in our community?
I mean, personally, I would love to find a suitable housing situation for $1,300 as well. But I do also want to recognize my privilege that, you know, affordable for me would even be $1,500, right? We are such a diverse community on the North Shore that we do need affordable housing all across the income spectrum, from the folks that, you know, work at our hospitals, who work at our coffee shops, who are earning minimum wage, to even those who, you know, have their master's degrees, their PhDs, work in tech, and so on and so forth. So ideally, I mean, if we're looking for that one silver bullet of an income amount, it would be very popular, but very difficult to attain.
Thank you very much. As you can tell by the discussion, this is a top issue for this council. I would say that we may not always agree on our approach, but we're all trying to find a solution and trying to work with the community to get input. So I really appreciate input tonight. So Julia and Camille, thank you very much. There's another group behind you. If we can get them coming in, that'd be great. You may begin when you're ready.
Just bringing up our slide. Okay. Perfect. There we go. First of all, thank you so much for having us. We're honored to be part of this delegation and be speaking with you tonight. My name is Megan, and this is Paula. We are both mothers to young children here on the North Shore. We both grew up here as well. And so this is something that's kind of very near and dear to us. Do you want to click? There we go. So when we were thinking about what to present you with tonight, we decided that one of the challenges in the district of North Vancouver currently is that it offers limited accessible year-round covered third spaces for young people. And so what is a third space? It is a free communal space or low-cost communal space available to the public that is separate from home, which is your first space, or work, which is your second space. And what does this mean exactly, though? So we felt that we were lacking something engaging for young people, something that could be enjoyed all year round, and something that was unique. So, and this would be different from rec centers, because I know that's where everyone's mind goes to when they think of a third space. It would be different from libraries. It would be different from private, semi-private retail and food establishments and parks, of course. So if we look at the city, we obviously have such a great resource there. It's the shipyards. They've done a great job of connecting community in this space, in our opinion. That surrounding area, Lonsdale Quay, the art galleries, they have a communal woodworking shop. For the district, we were at a bit of a loss to think of, you know, what space could young people go to and young families go to that would be engaging and would attract young people in a safe environment as well. So Why is this so important to us? Well, as I said, we both have personal experiences. We grew up on the North Shore. We both work here, and I studied here as well. We are facing a population growth here on the North Shore, so 7.6%. While that is happening, we're facing a decrease in square footage of homes. So it kind of ties in with our counterparts earlier. In order to afford to live in the district, we have to compromise, and we're living in smaller spaces, which is very difficult for young families and youth. We need spaces that we can go to connect with people, because also 40% of Canadians reported to feeling lonely some or all of the time. Another thing is heat waves and extreme weathers that have been coming. So, and obviously the rain that brings us our beautiful forests and everything. It's hard to go outdoors sometimes here because of these extreme weathers. So that's why we are pushing for a space that is covered and so I'm going to pass it over to Paula, but basically this is our solution.
There are many opportunities to build third spaces. What we're proposing here is the idea of a covered or semi-covered year-round shipping container plaza. This type of structure is not only sustainable, cost-effective, durable, it really leverages the existing branding that the North Shore has around the shipyards and being a port city. In addition, this type of structure is aesthetically innovative, and it allows for a high density and diversity of spaces in a small area. Some of the opportunities that exist around this space, we thought about government information booths. We hear over and over again how important it is for municipal governments to be able to engage youth. So having a spot where there is ongoing showcasing of district challenges, issues, and initiatives, as well as opportunities for revenue growth through retail space, locally owned restaurants, et cetera. And just given the uniqueness of these structures, you could also showcase a lot of the beauty of the North Shore through art gallery studios and even designing the different containers for given, with the Indigenous art or art displaying the beauty of the North Shore. Not going to go into detail on this, but just to say that we think this aligns really well with the goals of your district strategy, including achieving a fair and balanced economy and fostering a sense of community. And that there are other opportunities to learn from other cities, including, we came up with this idea 5 months ago, and Vancouver has proposed something quite similar. But regardless, I think there's still an opportunity for the North Shore. It's not necessarily what you're doing it, but how well you execute it that could really set North Vancouver apart. And with that, wrap it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Megan and Paula. Really great presentation, because we all want to make sure we build and enhance our community. I'm just going to see if there's any councillors that have some clarifying questions. Councillor Back.
Thank you very much. Interesting topic, a great one, I think, to choose to bring forward to our council and specifically for the district. I think looking at how we can create more people-oriented spaces should be a priority in the district. I think we have a lot of town centers where we've encouraged density and where our community plans have said this is where we want to put the majority of our density. We have people moving into those areas, but we don't have the sort of, I know it's the overused word, but still one of my favorites, the sort of vibrancy that was envisioned for these spaces. So the programming, the wayfind, the space, sorry, the placemaking, places that people want to come to connect, and specifically around covered areas. As a father to 2 young kids, I've really grown to appreciate covered areas, given a heat wave or most of the year when it's very, very wet. I was wondering if you did any research around the costing of some of these shipping containers and availability, and just, I can appreciate that they could be relatively easy to implement versus like a permanent structure, but if you have any sort of more specifics around the costing.
We didn't dive into the details of the costing. It's hard to find publicly available information, but I think in general, this shouldn't have a limited impact or budget impact for the district, right? It's something that a private developer would be interested in investing in, but I think with some parameters. I don't know if there's anything I would want to add. It's a good question and we can follow up.
I think it's something that we can take a look at too. And when you talk about, the sorts of areas, I think you've suggested some great areas like Lynn Creek as one example, I think could potentially work. What do you think are the most important things to consider when we look at where we would put these?
Definitely accessibility was one. So, and the density around the surrounding area as well. So yeah, the Lynn Creek area was top of mind for us. Norgate as well, top of mind for us. Seymour, east of the Seymour is a little bit lacking, I find, in things to do in general. So we were also, thinking like behind Canlan and that sort of area behind Ron Andrews. But another huge thing, going back to your other question, is that, encouraging small businesses to be in this development as well, because that's also kind of a struggle that we face, is having and holding small businesses on the North Shore.
And sometimes having those smaller commercial spaces, which we don't have a lot of in the community as well. Well, certainly I've had conversations with other councillors around the table, and I think you will see some initiatives coming forward soon around how we can create and enliven some of these areas, but I really appreciate the work that you put into this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Back and Councillor Murray. If we can limit to clarifying questions,
I'll move receipt of the delegation.
Okay, we're not there yet. There's 2 more councillors to speak.
Okay. I've never had so much problem trying to receive the delegation, but I'll be patient and wait. So thank you for your presentation, and certainly the smaller units. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a shipping container. That's just an idea, but it's that variety of services that are being offered, and it's an interesting point that you've brought forward, because it's something that we've been struggling with over the years. So are you aware that we are now looking at smaller commercial units within our town centers, like Lynn Creek, like Lionsgate? It was something that wasn't conceived when the OCP was brought in. It's what Lower Lonsdale has done, allowed small little units up the street, so there's a good variety. So that's interesting. And you do know that we have like 6 rec facilities, 3 new ones, Delbrook, you're aware of that, and 2 new ones, Lynn Creek and Lionsgate. Lynn Creek's not on board, but certainly we are looking at creating more of a presence in those town centers. It's it's evolving and it takes a while, but I thank you for your presentation.
Finally, we have Catherine Pope, and once again, if we can limit to clarifying questions, that would be appreciated.
Thank you very much. I just absolutely love this idea of a district boulevard. I think there's so many opportunities around the district where we could do this sort of thing. And I do believe that the public really wants to, not just people with families, but others as well, and seniors and young people wanting to connect more. So I think you're really on to something, and I know Councillor Back's been working on it. I just wondered why you selected the model of the shipping containers.
Sure. I think it's great that we're moving towards like smaller commercial spaces. I think in that there is more rec centers available. I think what we wanted to do is create a structure where you would still have those opportunities for spaces, but have a broader space where people can have a sense, like where you can have a community. We struggled to find a word for it, but I think right now there's a lot of retail space available. There's rec centers available, but you have to have a purpose for going there. And I think what really creates a community is people just hanging out and having that open space, which I think we lack sometimes with the rec centers. You always go there with the intention of performing an activity or attending a class. And when we looked at innovative things that would make the city stand out or the district stand out, we thought this was a good model. It's still just representative. I think what we really care about is the issue of not having a covered third space, right? And this is just one of many solutions, which we thought was innovative and interesting.
If I could, a follow-up, please. Okay. Did you look at any other types of like coverings and like coverings for, large spaces or that kind of thing? Did you uncover any information on that front?
I'm trying to find one of the ideas, Las Vegas. I don't know if you've ever seen theirs or been there, but theirs is
Where? Sorry?
phenomenal in Las Vegas.
No, I haven't seen something like that in Las Vegas.
Sales and, London has a glass roof, but yeah,
We've got some examples that we can pass on to council if they're
Yeah.
interesting, but I think even just the shipyards themselves, I think is quite a revolutionary
Yeah.
example, right? Where you've got a really large space surrounded by retail that is multi-purposed throughout the year.
Thank you very much for your presentation. My own thoughts. This is what community engagement can look like. Hearing feedback from young people. Hussam, what I would ask is, I feel so limited in giving you this few minutes at council. Maybe we can reach out and set up something outside the council meeting where we're not limited by time, and just maybe talk with your group, because I did find those sessions very engaging. I met a lot of interesting people and with different ideas, and I think this is something that we really want to do as a council, is engage people. So maybe we can set up something after. Now I'm going to look for someone to make a motion. Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Thank you very much. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, moving now on to item 8, reports from staff and council. Council, I'm going to propose a consent agenda. I know we talked about this before. I would like to include as the consent agenda 8.2, 8.7, and 8.8. Would anyone like to remove any of the items from the consent agenda? Okay, with that, a mover, please. Seconder. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Now, as the chairperson, I'm going to alter the order of the agenda to consider 8.9, the safety of persons with disabilities. I'm going to move that to the front of the agenda. Councillor Pope, this is your report. Would you like to move the recommendation?
Sorry, I would like to move the recommendation, please. Thank you.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Or do we need a seconder? Okay. Councillor Back, thank you. Did you want to speak to
my
it,
motion?
please? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Acting Mayor Ma. For context, I sit on the North Shore Advisory Committee on Disability Issues, and during one of our meetings, I heard a horror story that was alluded to earlier by the chair from one of our members who is a person in a power-operated wheelchair. The committee sent a letter to council with the details, and they are included in this report. To summarize, this woman was in her wheelchair in a convenience store in North Van last year when she was accosted by a man who insisted she move. He then verbally assaulted her and said really horrible things. And I quote, "She should be raped or she should be dead." At one point, he was getting really in her face. She put up her arm, and at this point, he threatened to break her and her wheelchair if she hit him. And once outside the store, he continued with the verbal abuse. In her letter, this woman continued, "I tried to report this to the police, but the staff at the front of the RCMP counter told me there was nothing they could do about it because no one was available." Obviously, this is completely unacceptable on so many levels. I want to be clear, this motion is not brought forward for one person who happens to sit on the committee. As we heard earlier, this kind of abuse and discrimination happens daily for people in our community that have disabilities, both visible and invisible. And so we need as we heard from the chair of the ACDI committee, we want to help prevent this from happening again and to create greater public awareness of attitudinal barriers towards people with visible and invisible disabilities. And again, I quote in her letter, she said, "I'm scared of running into this person again, but I'm also scared for others if he continues to attack other people in wheelchairs or who use mobility devices to get around." So the recommendation is that council endorse the requests of the North Shore Advisory Committee, and that this includes that a letter be sent to all organizations and/or agencies, including the North Van RCMP, in their request to advise them of council's endorsement, and that staff collaborate with the advisory committee, the City of North Van, the District of West Van, on a plan for an annual public accessibility and safety awareness event for people with disabilities, and report back to council by September or the end of September 2024. So endorsing this motion would show strong support for the disabled members of our community, the ACDI committee, and possibly light a fire under the action plan, the action plan that's this council approved by the ACDI. Sorry, I'm just getting a little bit ahead of myself, but the 2023 to 26 accessibility plan was approved by council in October of 2023. And recently we heard from an update from that committee on the action plan. But there's actually, it sounds like things are moving really, really slowly. And there's no actions planned until at least later this year or next year. So I am hoping this motion will kind of move things forward, and the other points that I've outlined in my notes as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pope. Councillor Bath is seconding the motion.
Yeah, no further comments. Happy to support. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hanson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Pope, for bringing this matter forward. I'm obviously very pleased to support the motion and all of its recommendations. I must say, I have sat since 2018 on the policing committee. And when I read the statement that I tried to report the incident, it's here in a quote, "I tried to report the incident to the police, but the staff at the front told me there was nothing they could do about it because no one was available." And to think that the police were only 1 block away, the incident described is only 1 block from the police station. And to think that this woman was threatened with rape, was threatened with death, according to the words used, "You should be dead." That's a threat of death. To think that we've reached a stage where that report is received by the police, who are 1 block away, and they apparently have other concerns. It's extremely disturbing. I can say that the policing committee is meeting tomorrow, and I give my word that this matter will be raised in the strongest possible terms at that meeting tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Are there any other councillors? Okay. Yes, Councillor Murray.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Pope, for bringing this forward. And certainly, thank you, Councillor Hanson, for raising this at the police committee tomorrow. Certainly, if this is happening, as Councillor Pope is saying, on a regular basis, I hope something like this is not happening on a regular basis. I think I would hope that the committee or anybody involved would certainly reach out to the authorities right away if they don't get response from the obvious place that they are visiting. Certainly come to the mayor's council staff at the municipalities for action, as this happened on last year. Is that correct? Yeah, it happened last year. So it's unfortunate we're just learning about this over a year later. Certainly, I would hope that the ACDI's plan has been shared with all of our partners. And if it hasn't, I'd ask the question why it hasn't been shared. And maybe through Mr. Milburn, can you just can you update us on the work in regards to the document that is referred to in the report for action? Do we know where that is and what some of the challenges are in implementing the policies, the accessibility plan?
Mr. Milburn?
Your worship, we can return that information. I believe corporate services is liaising and managing that particular committee.
Okay, so we'll have that, staff will be, or council will be updated at a later date. Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy to support this, but certainly if there's concerns like this in the future, I think they need to be brought forward immediately and not wait for a committee to address them or a year. Thank you.
Okay, I have Councillor Pope a second time.
I just wanted to address a couple of those questions, actually, because you raised some excellent points, Councillor Murray. So it's not me saying that it happens on a regular basis. It's the people on the committee who have disabilities. And it's certainly as well, that is exactly what Cindy Gerlach, the chair of the committee, said here tonight as well. So I don't know, I don't think she was referring to this specific incident happening on a regular basis, but the discrimination in general and verbal abuse and other things as well. In regards to the reporting, indeed, this woman did try and raised it with the committee very early on. This was before my time. And I'm going to say that it was basically ignored. It went to staff. Nothing happened. It circled around and back to, you know, I don't know how many different people. I don't know all the details of the story, but it finally came to my attention a year later when she brought it up at the committee meeting, and she was distraught because no one was actually doing anything. Staff were not providing a letter. There was just no movement forward. So I don't know all the details of that. I don't understand really, and neither did she, why it wasn't taken seriously enough to make it happen quickly. So that's through no fault of hers for reporting late, because that is not what happened.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Pope. I see Councillor Forbes.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a question, and thank you for bringing this forward. Nothing like this should happen to anybody, anywhere. But I just have a question or a clarification. There are, in the points that were raised in Cindy Gerlach's letter, sorry, I'm losing my voice. There are 5 points that are raised, but then when we go down to the 6 core themes that are emerging as goals in the plan so far, there are 6 points. So just a clarification, are we asking for the 5 points that Cindy has raised, or are we asking about 6 points that are coming up as themes in this committee, in this accessibility plan so far?
I believe that like my motion went through the committee as well for approval. So I think we are just strictly sticking with what's outlined in my motion, and hopefully endorsing this letter and what it asks for in a broader context.
So what we're talking about is the things that are asked for, but bearing in mind the 6 core themes that are coming out of the plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Just my own thoughts. Thank you, Councillor Pope, for bringing this forward. When I read this, it was very disturbing. And as you mentioned, this is kind of like symbolic of some of the challenges members of our community face. So I think, creating more awareness and looking for some action by our partners is a good first step. So I'm going to call the question. All in favor of this motion? Oppose? Carried. Thank you. Okay, just moving on. The next item is we're going to move to item 8.1, 1405 Pemberton Avenue. There's a proposal to amend the existing license endorsement for Beba Brewing. Mr. Milburn, can I ask if you have any introductory comments?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Ma. Ms. Yan Zhang, Manager of Development Planning, has some introductory comments, and we'll be joined by Graham Budge, Development Planner, to help answer questions as they arise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Acting Mayor and members of the council. So this is amendment to an existing liquor license that was previously endorsed by council at 1405 Pemberton Avenue, Beva Brewing. And the amendment is for increasing the capacity from 70 to 100, and mostly attributed to the capacity in the outdoor patio. And also there is a slight extension of the operating hours. And so staff have done the public consultation, and we have also reviewed with all the other departments as well, including bylaw. And what we understand is the operation has been quite smooth and very welcomed in the community. So we're recommending for council to further endorse this amendment. And we're here to answer any questions you may have. I do believe the applicant is in the audience as well. Thank you.
I see Councillor Murray.
I'll move the recommendation.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Back. Councillor Murray, any comments?
Thank you. Yeah, I have no problem with this application. I think the hours of operation are going, they're Saturday, it goes to 11. They're asking for a 45-minute increase till 12, and everybody's gonna leave quietly when they leave the establishment. Be good neighbors. That's good. Glad to hear. I'm particularly interested, given our recent discussion in regards to outdoor patios and just the rendering, and particularly, this is for councils. My comments are directed at council, but just the rendering in regards to the fencing around the outdoor area in relation to some of the challenges we're having elsewhere in the municipality. Although that this resides on private property, I'm not sure what the difference is between private property, outdoor space, and public property. And I think this is a good example of the kind of fencing that is appropriate throughout the municipality, and I would hope staff takes that into consideration when we look at other village and town center areas. Other than that, I think there was general support among the letters that came in to the area. Obviously, you have some good neighborhood support, and wish you luck.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Back, any additional comments?
Thank you very much, Acting Mayor Ma. No, just happy to support this. I'm excited to see both Beva growing, and I know Bridge Brewing will soon be opening their new location in this area. And looking forward to just seeing how that's going to really play out. And I think that there's an opportunity in this area to really create kind of a destination for breweries. And I just think it's already an interesting mix of the types of businesses that are down in this part of the district. So great to see that Beva's doing well, and I wish you continued success as you grow. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Forbes.
Thank you, Your Worship, Acting Worship. I will be voting in favor of this. I read all of the information and I read all of the comments by your neighbors, and you seem to have a very good neighbor rapport going on. So I'm in favor of that. However, I did want to make a comment tonight that has to do more with procedure. not with a particular project. I want to reassure the community that this council and the decision it makes are independently made by each member of council. I'm referring specifically to item 8.1, and I want to assure the community that this item has not yet been decided before being brought to these chambers tonight. The amendment to the existing license form that was attached that will be submitted to the LCRB should 8.1 be passed by council tonight has already been published prior to tonight with council comments preloaded. This is not the normal procedure. If this agenda item's recommendation is adopted, this form will be redone with council comments from this evening. I raise this point to ensure that the appearance of a predetermined outcome is not the case. And again, council comments are independent of staff.
Thank you, Councillor Forbes. In just speaking with our very knowledgeable clerk, I'm going to ask her to provide some additional information on your comment.
Sure. Thank you, through your worship. Just for clarification, the resolution is a form type resolution that's created for the submission to the LCRB. The resolution that council is considering is the one that's before them that asks council to endorse the resolution as it's contained in attachment 1. So that is what council is voting on. Should they vote down potentially the resolution to endorse, that would the attachment would not fail. Yes.
Thank you. That was my point, though, that in that attachment, there are 4 items that says council's comments, and then it lists council's comments. So there's an appearance that is out there that maybe council has talked about this and decided it before in order for that to be filled in when it comes to a meeting. So I'm just clarifying it, and that normally staff may already have the form ready to go if it passes, but it specifically refers to council comments. And so it looks like there may have been discussion before the actual comments and this came on the agenda. So that's what I'm trying to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you. For myself, I've been to BEVA quite a few times, so full disclosure. It was one of the first decisions that came before council when I started my new term in December 2022. I continue to support trying to help small businesses. And I believe, as Councillor Back was saying, 3 of the 4 group hubs in the district or around Norgate, Pembroke Heights area. So there is a small cluster starting. When I did go to BEVA, I did notice a very laid back, friendly atmosphere, but it was also friendly to families. I've seen a lot of families down there. And I did take the opportunity this weekend to speak with some of the other business owners, especially the one right next door, North Shore Sports Swap. And they had nothing but praise for the professionalism and the operation done by Graham and his partners. So I am happy to support this. And if there's no other questions, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Contrary? Pass. Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry, item 8.2 was consent agenda. We now have a speaker signed up for item 8.3. Abdul Jawan, if you're here, please come forward. Thank you. We have 3 minutes to, no, 3 minutes to address council.
Good evening, Acting Mayor Ma and members of council. My name is Abdul Jawan, and I represent the applicant Red Brick Properties, Inc. Our company has been in the rental housing business for close to 25 years. Our office is located in New Westminster. We own and manage multifamily rental properties throughout Metro Vancouver. Having recognized the immense and growing demand for rental housing, we have more recently begun to develop these properties. Our company is notable for having developed their first rental building, completed in 2020 in the city of Coquitlam in the previous 40 years, having kickstarted that city's housing affordability strategy. We wish to provide you today with our proposal for a 66-unit market rental building in Lynn Valley Town Center and located at 1149 and 1155 Lynn Valley Road. This proposal represents our first such project in the District of North Vancouver, a municipality that we believe is extremely attractive and scenic, but also very much in need of more rental housing. Our project team has worked extremely hard to put forward an excellent proposal with many outstanding benefits for the community. It has been well received at the public information meetings, both in person and virtually, and at the advisory design panel. We would like to thank you for your consideration this evening of our proposal and your efforts and attention to the need for more rental housing in the region. Briefly, I will just address one issue that came up earlier. It's a technical issue by a speaker at the beginning of the meeting. It was with respect to the easement issue. So the speaker indicated that our application is premature due to the easement issue, and I can assure you it's not. The easement agreement has been worked out for both properties, 1149 and 1155 Lynn Valley Road. It's been put on title of both properties, verified by our lawyer, verified by our surveyor, and both agreements have been provided to staff. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can just ask Mr. Milburn, do you have any introductory comments?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Mah. Once again, Ms. Zhang has some introductory comments, and we'd be happy to answer questions after. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll provide a brief intro for this rezoning. And I will just, before I start, I will just say that this is OCP amendment as well. So should council give the bylaws first reading tonight, there will be a public hearing. So this is a 6-story, 66-unit market rental proposal at 1149 Lynn Valley Road. And the subject property shown in red is a relatively small site, 2 single-family lots, and located at a very important location in the Lynn Valley Town Center, and is surrounded by key development sites with the vacant building of Black Bear Pub to the site to the east, and the Lynn Valley Center, the mall, to the northeast, and then the Safeway site to the south. And the project itself, if I can have, yeah, the project itself proposed an all rental proposal, shared parquet to serve existing development to the west of the site, and common amenity spaces, including a gym fronting Lynn Valley Road, a bicycle maintenance facility in the parquet, as well as a generous podium level outdoor amenity space located at the rear of the development. And the 66 market rental units include a mix of studios, 1 and 2 bedrooms, and also including 5 enhanced accessible units. The proposal is consistent with the form of housing anticipated in the Lynn Valley Flexible Framework, as well as OCP's broader housing objectives, particularly the direction to provide rental housing in the town center along a major transit corridor. So if I can have the next slide, please. So what is shown here is a graph of new housing delivered in the various town center and village centers, and outlined in orange, which is the second bar. I apologize, it's not that clear. The second bar is the Lynn Valley Town Center. The darker blue at the bottom is the strata housing units delivered. And then the lighter blue, as you can see in the legend, is the market rental housing. And so, as you can see, the significant majority of the 1,093 units achieved in this town center is ownership housing, and very little purpose-built market rental. And this market rental housing would replace 2 single-family houses and does not involve demolition of any existing older rental stock. And the next one, just talk about the building design. The design is unanimously supported by the advisory design panel. At a height of 6 stories, the proposal emphasized the massing as a 5-story development with the middle portion read most prominently from the street. And this is to visually soften the uppermost floor. At the west of the development, as shown on this elevation, the strong roof line is stepping down 1 story to relate to the mass of the adjacent 4.5-story condo building. And so overall, staff are satisfied that the project integrates well with the surrounding former developments and provide that transition from the higher development to the east and south of the site to the lower density along Lynn Valley Road. I want to conclude my introduction on public realm improvements and tree replacement strategies for this project. Central to this proposal are the substantial offsite improvements that align with the district long-term vision and then the local Lynn Valley plan to enhance the connectivity and then the public realm throughout the town center. So the applicant is providing a 2.1 meter, pretty substantial wide land dedication along the northern property line to accommodate bike lane improvements and cycling facilities along Lynn Valley Road. This is shown along the top of this slide. And additionally, in keeping with the Lynn Valley Public Realm Plan, the proposal includes the creation of a greenway at the rear lane and then the eastern property line, which will be constructed and landscaped at the applicant's expense to further allow pedestrian and cycling connection from the mall, the Lynn Valley Center, to East 27th Road. And finally, in recognizing that there are a significant tree canopy on site, effort have been made to examine where trees may be retained. With the transportation and road design requirement along Lynn Valley Road, unfortunately, it was not possible to save some substantial existing trees on the site. However, some smaller trees along the 2 lane edges will be saved. The proposal then have undergone some design iterations to integrate larger and more substantial replacement trees in the boulevard street along the Lynn Valley Road, as shown on this plan. This larger boulevard trees will serve to enhance the public realm and provide a new canopy cover of medium to larger tree species upon building occupancy. So just to wrap up, the site, though not big, is critical site in the Lynn Valley Town Center and faces 3 public frontages, including Lynn Valley Road itself. So for this all rental proposal, we would help contribute to improving sustainable transportation modes and public realm improvements in the Valley Town Center. This is in addition to addressing the need for more purpose-built rental in this town center. And staff consider the built form appropriate for the site and surrounding developments. The OCP amendment and rezoning is now ready for council consideration, and staff do recommend that bylaws be referred to a public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take a little different approach on this one. I'm just going to ask for council comments before I ask for a motion. So I see Councillor Hanson as the first speaker.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you to staff for all the work you have.
I just don't understand why we're doing it differently.
I was given 2 options, either ask for comments first or ask for motion, and I chose the asking for comments first. Okay.
We have comments after the motion, after as well? I'm just asking, do we, because I'm not familiar with this format, do we have comments afterwards as well?
After the motion?
After the motion, when it's moved.
Sure. Councillor Hanson.
Thank you very much. Thank you to staff for all your work in bringing this matter forward and to the proponents. Very pleased to support this proposal going to public hearing. From my point of view, this project will bring much needed 66 rental units to Lynn Valley, and has been noted in the staff presentation, bring some much needed balance with respect to the balance between strata housing and rental housing in the Lynn Valley Town Center. I did note with interest that this all rental project for these two lots replaces an earlier proposal which envisioned 36 strata units on this site, which was submitted back in 2018, but not brought before council. I believe this new proposal calling for 66 rental units compares very favorably to the earlier proposal of the 36 strata units, and is very much more in keeping with our needs for a diverse and more affordable housing options for Lynn Valley. So I applaud council for the position that was taken back in 2018 of resisting the onslaught of strata housing. And I believe that that resistance has borne fruit in the 66 rental units, which are going to be coming forth for this project. Again, thank you to staff, thank you to the proponent, and I look forward to this matter coming to public hearing.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Councillor Murray.
Thank you. I do have some concerns about this project. Off the top, I like the design of the building, but I'm really concerned about the overall footprint of the project. And I'll just share with you, council, a couple of weeks ago, in my role as a member of our Parks and Natural Environment Committee, we were taken on a tour by our arborist and our parks senior management team into Kirkstone Park. And I was horrified to find out among the trees that are going to have to come down in the park because of looper moth impact and climate change impact, we are also going to be removing a grove of healthy cedars in the center of Kirkstone Park because the water source for those trees was cut off by the Emery Place development. And now they're deemed hazardous because they don't have water. We are losing at a significant rate our urban canopy due to hard surface of single family new construction and multifamily redevelopment. Because of the parkades that are required, and you can even look at the full basements that we exempt. Contractors and developers are excavating lot line to lot line. The neighboring property to the south, it was identified in the report to the west, but it's actually to the south, is a development that was built in the 90s that is surrounded by significant stands. And based on the example of Emery and Kirkstone, I'm very concerned that with a potential redevelopment of Safeway and the Black Bear, we are going to be creating a worst case scenario for the stands that exist along Lynn Valley Road, affecting multifamily properties, existing multifamily properties. These trees and anything that would be replaced as part of this development is never going to provide the canopy that is what is there right now. And I understand we cannot sterilize a lot from redevelopment, but we need to understand at the very least the hydrology and how we're going to maintain these trees on existing lots in the surrounding area. And I don't think we know that. Certainly given the example that Parks has brought forward to Peniac, and I am bringing to you right now, we are having to take trees out of our park that we shouldn't be taking out because water has been diverted into a series of drain tiles and engineering infrastructure that is now causing a part of the park to dry out. So I don't know if this, I fear that we're not going to be able to deal with this at the hearing. I think this is significant, and I think we need to understand what the excavation and the removal of these trees and the kind of system that's been put in place for this project versus the system that was put in Emery, and it's still being implemented because it's in 3 phases, I believe, 3 phases, not 4, 3, right? 3? Yeah.
Sorry, it's four phases, yeah.
And what phase are we on now?
So phase 2 is under construction.
Okay, so
and-
we're only at phase 2 and we're already having to take out, we already have an issue with trees. So Mr. Stewart, the issue of hydrology, the issue of trees, the issue of water is very significant. We're pouring a huge amount into our storm. And I understand that, you know, the developer will be required to deal with that water. But it is the perfect storm in the sense that we're adding infrastructure, pushing water into a storm, and removing trees that do a lot of work to suck that water up. So I need to understand how we're going to address these questions that I have and how we can move forward.
Mr. Milburn, do you have any comments on that?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Ma. The district has a development servicing bylaw that has specific standards around integrated stormwater management and how we ensure that pre-development flows match post-development flows. So that's in design to manage flooding, but also to manage consistent flows into our storm system and not overburden it. We understand and hear the concerns being raised, and we can have, if this matter is moved forward to the public hearing, have additional details provided to council about how stormwater is to be managed under the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Batt.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Ma. I recognize the need for purpose-built rental, particularly in Lynn Valley, as we saw in the staff presentation, where there has been very little purpose-built rental approved over the last several years. I just had a couple of questions to staff. The first, I guess, being that this particular development previously was being brought forward as a 4-story market strata building. We've increased it to 6 stories. All rental, but there's no inclusion of any non-market units and no CAC, community amenity contribution. And I wonder if staff could comment on that, as we are going to be looking at on the same agenda tonight another all rental building in Lynn Creek, which will include a non-market component. So if staff could please comment on that firstly.
Yeah, sure. I will provide a response, and Mr. Milburn may wanted to supplement that. So this project, this rezoning, is subject to a pro forma review in accordance with the district CAC policy, the same thing as the previous strata development. So the CAC policy asks that we're looking at whether, as a result of rezoning, there is a land lift, and then that land lift means the added value for the finished product as a result of rezoning. And so for this particular one, the pro forma was submitted by the applicant, and it was reviewed by our third-party land economist. And it was determined that after factoring various factors, there is no land lift for this all rental development. And I will say that the factors are at play, you know, it's quite diverse. There is the location factor that this is in Valley, which is a more expensive real estate market. That's why we have seen a lot of strata development here and rental development, even though it bears similar construction costs, it doesn't really generate the same revenue. And also we're in the current market condition, we're seeing increasing costs in terms of both the soft and the hard cost, the labor, and then the supply chain problem, as well as financing cost. And so so given all this, this is, as we said, that the pro forma is at the time of the current market condition, the project can't really bear any additional below market subsidy. And so even with the current, I should also mention that a really important aspect is that this is a small site, but has 3 frontages. So all those offsite improvements, which is $750K, it's quite substantial for a small site like this. And so all this combined, really, our third-party consultant basically concluded that there is no land lift as a result of this rezoning. So,
thank you for that explanation. I can see Mr. Milburn has a point.
Thank you, through Acting Mayor Ma. Just to add a little bit for the context, Since 2016 in the affordable rental housing strategy, with council's direction, staff have negotiated on a case-by-case basis with every development application to try to achieve community benefits associated with affordable housing. Every town center has a different level of affordability that can be achieved based on the land economics, based on a case-by-case analysis. And additionally, the provincial government's recent legislation actually acknowledges and recognizes that there needs to be a financial analysis to justify further regulations like inclusionary zoning in the future. So staff have really applied a consistent approach. I think we've really benefited as a community from changing economics over the last decade, where we have seen more and more rental housing coming forward, being driven by the marketplace. And we've been able to, in many circumstances, achieve some affordability, but not in every circumstance. And this is an example of where we're dealing with a neighborhood where the existing costs and the current market conditions that we're in now, based on the pro forma analysis completed, as mentioned, consistent with our policy, has demonstrated that unfortunately, we don't believe, based on that analysis, that we're able to achieve affordable units on this site. However, market rental units are still very much needed in this center, and that's why staff are recommending in favor.
Thank you. I think it does point to the challenge that it's going to be, in the future, delivering non-market units in town centers like Lynn Valley. The other point I wanted to, or question I wanted to raise was around larger homes. I noticed there's no 3-bedroom units included as part of this proposal. And I know we've heard, and as a resident of Lynn Valley with a young family, there's a lot of young families in Lynn Valley that do look to a 3-bedroom home if that option is available. And I wondered why there was inclusion of no 3-bedroom units at all.
I think that's a good question for the applicant. If, is that okay for the applicant to address that?
Yes, if that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. So I have addressed that in my letter to Council, and hopefully you've read that letter. But we have addressed our proposal to the market demand. So the main rental household, the way households are formed in the marketplace, is the predominant rental household is a lone person household. Okay, and the second most predominant rental household is a couple without children. So we have extensive experience in the market for 25 years, but also we keep track of the research on a year-to-year and month-to-month basis. So the vast majority of rental households, you never get to the 3rd bedroom. And so you'll see a lot of developers complain about the requirement for including bigger units to bring to the marketplace because the demand just doesn't exist. And we see that over and over again. So those units actually just sit empty. And we saw Ledmac complain about that in the city of Coquitlam. That's our experience as well. So we do have some in our portfolio, 3-bedroom units. We have one in Burnaby. It's very difficult to rent it out. Okay, rental households, that's just not where the demand is. And then on top of that, because the demand doesn't exist for that product, we see the financial feasibility of that product impact the financial feasibility of the whole project as a whole. So we've seen that in a recent report from the city of Vancouver, that they're concerned about 3-bedroom units because of the financial feasibility for the project as a whole. So we're essentially addressing market demand. So when we put together a project, you'll see the unit mix. I can assure you the market demand for the unit mix we put forward is overwhelming.
I appreciate that information, and I think that's valuable data to know that it's going to impact on the feasibility of the whole project. Yeah, those are my only comments at this time. Thank you.
Remember, this is the decision tonight is this, if the motion is passed, is to send it to public hearing. We're not deciding if the project is going ahead. I just want to bring up that what's before council, well, depending on the motion, is to, if it's passed, it would be referring this to public hearing. We're not deciding on it now. There's still some more information to come, but
I have one more point. Am I able to address one more point on the 3-bedroom?
normally not. Okay. At the discretion of the chair. You have 1 minute.
The last point I wanted to make is we evaluated the housing needs report very carefully from the District of North Vancouver, which is prepared by the district. And in fact, the demand from the housing needs report is mostly in the smaller units, not in the bigger units. In fact, so the District of North Vancouver has a shortage of the smaller units and an oversupply of the bigger units. And it finds that the oversupply is relative to Metro Vancouver and in that you have too many bigger units. And so we've addressed the housing needs report perfectly well, and you'll see that in my letter to council.
Thank you. Councillor Pope.
Thank you very much. I'm struggling with this because we constantly hear the demand for affordability in the district as well. That statistic that we saw from staff shows me that, yeah, it's pretty lopsided. It's all stratas in Lynn Valley Village. That's what's been approved in the past. So yes, we desperately need rentals, but I'm very disappointed that there are no non-market rentals in this project. And I feel inclined, because it is so desperately needed, to enable this to go to public hearing so that we can hear what people in Lynn Valley have to say about the affordability issue of this project. I think that's kind of the way I'm leaning at this moment. On the positive side, yeah, it's all rentals and it includes 5 accessible units enhanced, which is good. I still do not understand how there could be no lift in the value of the property with the pro forma, even though thank you to staff for trying your best to explain why this is. It's beyond reason to me that in this day and age, with the price of land in the district of North Van, that putting this project there would not cause a lift. And I just wondered, Mr. Milburn, if you wanted to take another stab at that, because it is beyond I just can't understand it. And I just want to say that if there is no affordability units, then I would at least expect there to be something in the CACs that would enable us to put money into the Affordable Housing Fund. But because of this pro forma analysis, we don't have that either.
Mr. Milburn.
Thank you very much, Acting Rama. Staff normally negotiate these processes with council's direction in accordance with council's policy. There is a pro forma analysis and completed. It's verified by a third-party consultant who works directly for the district, so they're independent of the applicant. And we look for a particular opinion from them about current market conditions on this site. And the information is normally confidential. It can be shared with council confidentially in advance of the public hearing if council wishes to see further details about pro forma analysis and the results that were completed as part of that, but on a confidential basis, given that was how the negotiation was entered into.
I'd be very interested in seeing that. Thank you. I also just wanted to pick up on the issue of the layout. It looks like the main entrance and driveway to underground parking are coming right off of Lynn Valley Road. And as that's a major bike lane and mobility lane that's there, and we're encouraging more people to travel that way. I think that would be a real hindrance, and I don't quite understand why it can't be along the lane or along the other roadway going into Lynn Valley Village. I'm not sure, Mr. Milburn or the applicant.
I'm going to go to staff with that question from council.
Yeah, through you to Councillor Pope. So I just want to clarify the vehicle driveway access is shared with development to the west.
Yeah.
And so there is no additional curb cuts along Lynn Valley Road. And so what happens is that this development would use that existing driveway. So on one side, at the end of the driveway, it turns to one development. At the end of the driveway, then they turn to the other site.
Yeah, of course.
But
the point is, it would be adding 66 more people at the least, cars going into the new development. So we're actually adding to the amount of traffic, the amount of cars flowing out of there right onto Lynn Valley Road. And that's what I have the problem with.
Yeah, we can certainly provide more information on this if this were referred to a public hearing. So an engineering staff did comment that Lynn Valley Road can handle the traffic, whereas in this particular situation, the back lane is not open. It's just a portion of the back lane. And then the eastern edge of that lane is actually for access to to Safeway, to commercial development, and then only daylighting out to right turn to Lynn Valley Road. And so they deemed that this particular arrangement is acceptable. And we're looking at a 0.88 parking ratio, so 58 vehicle. And so that they have some, we will bring that information if this is going to public hearing. The transportation impact assessment, really, it's the result of this 58 additional units is minimal on Lynn Valley Road.
Thank you. I don't really understand the reasoning there. It makes no sense to me why we're adding traffic onto Lynn Valley Road, which is a major artery, and we're going to have bike lanes and mobility going right past it. It's dangerous. We've seen how this was voted down when the suggestion was made over on Ridgewood in Edgemont Village that no, the accessible driveway had to go around the side. So why that policy would change for this development is, I don't understand it. Is it possible to move it? Can I ask?
There's no access off the anywhere else on the roads. We have a lane coming up from.
sorry, I'm going to let staff respond unless they
I think
decide that they should go to the applicant. Mr. Milburn, do you want to respond or refer to the applicant?
Yeah, I would let the applicant, so this is probably the applicant's transportation consultant. I will let them have a response, but we can always loop back.
This is our architect, Eric Vanderputten.
Hi, thank you, council members. So the Safeway site to the south, there's no legal access across that site. So that's currently owned by the Crombie REIT, and they've given the DMV, I think, easement or some sort of legal right to use that, but we don't have a legal right over that land. So that lane that seems to be open, that seems like the reasonable place to approach. We don't have legal access over it. So our only legal access is along Lynn Valley Road to access the project.
We have talked with Crombie REIT and they were not willing to give us access.
So, and then to that further at that point, that Black Bear Pub, that the way the angle of the road is, it's a right turn only. So cars can't come in. It's not a 2-lane lane. It's only a 1-lane lane. So they can't come in and do like it's over a 90-degree turn. So it wouldn't essentially work from a traffic. My assumption is it wouldn't work from a traffic movement point of view. And I think that's why engineering directed us to use the existing curb cut that's existing with the adjacent property. And so we're using their existing ramp to also save, it's also in addition to save square footage and land because our site is extremely constrained.
Okay, thanks for that explanation. I just don't think it's acceptable on any level if we're trying to get more people to be using mobility transportation. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Pope. Councillor Forbes.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. A lot of points that I was going to bring up have been brought up, but I would like to say a couple of things. When I first went through this, the positives were that it was rental. We need it badly. Well, I'll go to the negatives. Sorry, save time here. But I too am concerned about the permeable surface in our whole town center. It's not specific to you, but it's what's happening in that whole area. So I'm concerned about that. And I wondered maybe if the applicant could clarify, is the housing agreement market rent for life, and the history of your company is that you haven't sold any of your properties after you've developed them? Is that correct? So, okay, so you keep your properties after you develop them?
Yes.
And so is the idea, is there going to be a housing agreement with market rent for life?
Well, there'd be a housing agreement with the district, but in terms of market rent, you have to realize that we're subject to provincial regulations, which we have stringent rent control in this province. So realistically, our portfolio, which we've been in business for 25 years, operates roughly 30% below market due to stringent rent control. So market rentals aren't actually market rentals, and that significantly impacts the financial feasibility of the project. We've seen even since the new government has come into place that rent increases have been far, far below inflation. So it's actually becoming difficult just to maintain our properties.
Okay, that kind of leads me into another thing is, I too, like others have said, am looking for affordability. And we just had 2 presentations tonight about how there isn't affordability. And I don't think you're going to be offering these suites at $1,300 or $1,500 or anything under $2,000. So, and this is in a town center, which one of the positives is that it's in a town center, it's on transportation as well. Those were positives as well. But we've been trying to find somewhere to put employment housing, and this seems to me to be a perfect place to put employment housing. And employment housing would not be affordable for that sector of our population. It's a town center where we have, you know, there are jobs at the drugstore, jobs at the grocery store, jobs at restaurants right there. There is a real need for employment housing, and that's what I really would have liked to have seen go in there. So I have a concern about that in the affordability in general, and also I'm talking about workforce housing as well. The flexible plan, I noticed your comment about why it went from 5 to 6 stories was that you had dealt with the massing on the 6-story in order to make it more amenable. I don't find massing when it involves the trees next to the property anywhere comparable when you mass an extra floor on a building. So I don't like the idea of it being 6 stories. And I think your statement about massing is a little bit misleading. The other concern, I live a block off Lynn Valley Road, about 2 blocks from the center. And I too am concerned about the driveway issue, as Councillor Pope has said, because Lynn Valley Road is extremely busy. I'm on it multiple times every day. And delivery people park in the curb lane. They just stop and put the blinkers on. Moving vans at the end of the month or beginning of the month, and they block off a whole lane. So I understand that you have an issue with the access. You don't have the access, but the traffic, it's too congested. It backs up. There's too many other things that cause problems there when you're having to exit or enter off of Lynn Valley Road. There's also been a number of times where people coming out of the driveways, and I'm going along Lynn Valley Road, and they think they've got enough time to get out, and they boot it, and I almost hit them. So, I mean, that is a real safety issue for me, and I experience it every single day. I did want to ask, construction, where would you be? We're talking about the traffic on just after it's built and people are living there. When you're constructing it, where are all your construction vehicles going to be massed until they're being used? Like, have you?
Councillor Ford, I'm going to direct that question to staff first. And once again, if they cannot answer, I'll have the applicant.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. So through the chair, as a condition of development permit, a more detailed, thorough construction traffic management plan will be submitted. So the applicant submitted a preliminary construction traffic strategy, which essentially has a lay-by at the front. And so they've agreed that there will be limited traffic on Lynn Valley. And also our construction traffic management team has reviewed the strategy and is certain that they will have limited access on Lynn Valley Road. So it's.
How are they accessing? How are they going to access the property and have limited access on Lynn Valley Road? And where are the construction equipment? Where is it going to be masked when it's not being used?
Area, they were saying it's identified on the site.
All of it will be on the site.
As per the construction strategy. So again, a more detailed plan will be submitted as a condition of the development permit, and it will only be accepted if it is deemed acceptable and meets all the requirements of the construction traffic guidelines. So the district would not issue a building permit without having a acceptable construction traffic management plan.
I just don't find that informative in order to move this forward to a public hearing. I think there's too many councillors have raised a few questions that I think we need to get a little more history on and ask staff before it goes to a public hearing, because if we're asking so many questions now, I suspect the public will ask a lot more when it goes to a public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. One of the reasons why I chose to give council a once around to say things was just to see where we're at. I'm not sure if there's enough support here to send this to public hearing unless I'm gonna open up to council. If someone wants to make that motion, we can do that. Okay, do we have a seconder to send it to public hearing? Okay.
First reading.
We're gonna go, I haven't spoken, so I'm gonna take my time, and then if anyone else wants to speak, they can speak another 4 minutes. I share some of the concerns that Councillor Back articulated. We need rental housing. It would be preferable to have some affordable units. I understand the analysis done by the staff. And I also understand that it's the developer that takes the risk in terms of the unit mix. I work in support of housing. I manage a housing project in Vancouver. There are people looking for more than one bedroom. Now, it's Vancouver's downtown east side. It could be different, but I'm not going to sit here and say you need to have more units. That's your role. And if it goes to public hearing, we'll hear back from the public. In terms of some of the comments about the design, I do want to point out that the advisory design panel did support this project. And in the end, for me, is that we do need rentals. So I will support this. I'm going to let other members of council, if they want to have their 4 minutes. I see Councillor Murray.
So you have 53 one-bedroom units, and how big are they? They're 427 is the one bedroom?
That's
Or
the
is that-
studio.
Oh,
There's
that's
two
the
studios,
studio?
Which, by the way, the studios will be less than 2,000 a month, just to address Councillor Forbes' commentary.
How much less than 2,000 a month for studio?
Yep.
At 427. And what's a one bedroom worth?
Okay, I'm going to ask that you direct the questions to staff. If they can't answer, then we'll have the applicant.
Okay, can staff tell me how much the units are going to be per month?
Through the chair, I think this is a good question for the applicant to provide the answer.
Fine, I'm just going through process here.
So the studios are 1,800.
This is projected. We don't know the actual number, of course.
And what's the one bedroom?
About 2,300,
2,300 in the two bed?
about 3,350.
3,350. And that's at 882 square footage?
Approximately, yeah.
Okay. I understand that the development next door was 4 lots at 66 units strata. We're trying to fit the same number of units on 2¼ lots thereabouts. It's a much smaller size, and the architect just used the word extremely contained on this site. I think this is very premature, this project. I think there's a potential to be a lot happening around this project with the Black Bear and Safeway. I think we are having a significant issue with hydrology, and I'm sorry, but planning has not answered my question in regards to that, because we have an issue at Emery with water being cut off to our park, and we are losing significant stands because there's no water there because of a development. So I don't have faith that the same thing isn't going to happen here. And I'll just highlight that there are significant stands in front of the Dakota next door. It's part of the project. It's surrounded by significant stands of trees. So I'm very concerned for that property. And because we have this problem in Kirkstone, it's not enough for planning just to tell me that we're going to give you the stormwater management plan, Councillor Murray, because obviously we have a problem in our park because of a previous development. I do not understand, and I will say, I'll give you another example. On Dollarton by Matsumoto and Mackenzie Barge. Why can't I remember the name of that development? It's by Kate's Park. Tell me what it's called. The one down on Dollarton. What? Sorry? Kate's Landing. Kate's Landing. Do you know that that development, I posed that, that development was built with no bike lane on the Dollarton. It was built with parking for cars to achieve a density for a developer. That's what it was built for. You have to, we had a perfect opportunity to take a stretch of land on a road and set back the development and put a bike lane in. And did we do that? No. All we talk about is bike lanes in this municipality, and we get a perfect opportunity to do it, and we don't do it. Now we're putting a lay-by on Lynn Valley Road to accommodate a development and accommodate density. Is it density at all costs without looking at everything else that we're trying to achieve? Because you cannot have it both ways. The access is a concern. Our engineering, we are opening lanes on Mount Seymour Parkway because they do not want driveways out on Mount Seymour Parkway. But it's okay for, it's not okay for Mount Seymour Parkway, but it's okay for Lynn Valley Road. They're a contradiction. And we are always trying to achieve everything, and we can't. We are always trying to achieve everything, and we can't. I think this application is premature. I think it should be thought of in the big picture in regards to the town center. And I won't be supporting this going to hearing. If council does send it to hearing, my questions in regards to why water has been cut off to one of our municipal parks because of a development, I'd like to know. And I think we need to address the issues to the property to the south, the Dakota, which is next door. Because I think it's going to be a significant concern for them.
Sir, back. Sorry, my fault, Councillor Hanson.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for everyone who's participated in the discussion around the table. For my part, I simply believe that the need for rental housing in the district is so great that we must proceed to put this to public hearing and contemplate from there the proposal. I mean, I appreciate it would be a better world if we could get more affordable units in this, but I understand the position of staff that in the land economics of this circumstance, the best we're going to do is these 66 rental units. And I appreciate that there are these other concerns that I've listened to with great interest and respect. But I say that the 66 units and the 66 persons and small families that are going to be occupying these units are of such urgency that the time has come to move this to public hearing. Thank you.
Councillor Back.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Ma. I certainly agree with all of Councillor Hansen's comments. My question around having more non-market rentals included in the development was, a hope of mine, that because we've not seen a lot of non-market housing in Lynn Valley. I can appreciate that the economics are not there, and I guess that's partly from the question of where we are today versus when other projects were considered up for this site. But today it doesn't make sense, and ultimately we want this project to be built. And I think if we look at taking 2 single-family lots and turning that into 66 rental homes, that would be a net positive for the area for sure. So. And I appreciate your comments around why no 3-bedroom units were included. I do have some other concerns, and I appreciate some of the comments that were made around the access off of Lynn Valley Road. I'd like to learn more about that and just how safe that's going to be for people that are using that bike lane. And as well as I've heard Councillor Murray's comments about how this is going to work with those surrounding properties like the Black Bear and the Crombie Safeway site. Because I do want to see that whole area kind of work together. But at this point, I'm comfortable with sending it to public hearing. Thank you.
Councillor Pope. Oh, sorry. My apologies. Then, Mr. Milburn, you wanted to comment back?
Yeah, thank you very much, Acting Mayor. Just in response to some of the questions, we really appreciate the kinds of detailed questions that we received tonight. If this matter is brought before council in a public hearing, move forward, or return to staff in a separate resolution, we'd be looking to address many, of course, all of the questions that council's raised tonight. I'll just quickly mention a few of those in terms of bedroom size, so numbers of bedrooms in the housing needs report. Confidential sharing of the pro forma to describe how that information was derived, information on permeable surface and how the stormwater is designed for this site. We'd have to independently report to council with respect to the separate project that was mentioned by the council member, because it's not directly associated with this project. So we could do that, but that would be a separate process from staff to report on the Emery Place project. Access, we've heard strong concerns, as well as construction traffic. So that's just to name a few, but we've taken accurate notes of all the information tonight. So we'd be returning information to council on those matters, as well as all the questions raised by council tonight, if the matter was forwarded to a public hearing after this introduction tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Milburn. Councillor Pope.
Thank you very much, Acting Mayor Ma. It's been an interesting discussion that fortunately has gone beyond just what's in the report. So I really appreciate you being here to answer some of those questions. I would like to very much hear from the public about the affordability issue on this, if it's going to be acceptable for the people of Lynn Valley to trade off the the added density and the rentals that we so desperately need. If they side more with that, or with ensuring there's more affordability. But also I really am troubled about this, the access, and I just can't believe that there isn't some other way we could approach this. In some way that council could, is there nothing we could do? So I'd really like to hear back from staff on that issue, and I'm wondering if it needs an amendment, actually.
Let me pose that question. Mr. Milburn, please.
Questions, and then staff wouldn't require a specific amendment. What we understand is that these are all key questions for council. The council would like to see detailed responses on if the matter moves forward, or if it is referred back to staff. So we understand that doesn't require an independent resolution.
Okay, I have Councillor Forbes.
I'd like to make an amendment motion.
Mr. Clerk?
I think that there's been enough questions highlighted and raised, and that I think it requires that information be given to council before we get to the process of public hearing.
There's a motion on the floor. Yeah. if you can clarify,
Thank you
please.
through your worship. Councillor Forbes, for clarification, is your motion to refer the matter back to staff for more
Yes.
information?
Yes.
So that would be in order. Yes.
So do we vote?
So the vote would be on referral back to staff, and if that fails, then you would vote on the main motion on the floor.
Okay,
To answer all the questions that have come up tonight. That's the point of it going back to staff.
okay, so that motion has been made and second. Do we have discussion on that?
Through your worship, you may have discussion on the merits of referral only, not on the project itself.
Okay, would anyone like to speak on the merit of referral? Councillor Pope.
I would just like clarification of what this would mean for the applicant, how much further it would delay things. Those kinds of details, just clarifying what a referral to staff means.
Mr. Milburn.
This is where I might look to the clerk. If it's a referral to staff to return information in advance of the public hearing, that's a fairly straightforward request. The information, there's a timeline attached to a public hearing. We would have that information shared with council in advance of the public hearing. If there's a specific objective about how far in advance of that public hearing, we can certainly meet that as well.
So to clarify, the referral wouldn't necessarily be interpreted as a no vote to the main motion, because
clerk, if you
Thank you. Through your worship, I would look to Councillor Forbes to clarify, but as I understand, the intent of the referral motion would be to take the matter back to staff to provide this information and bring that forward with a new first reading report and introduction of bylaw. If Councillor Forbes could clarify, that is the intent.
My intent is that we get the answers before we decide on whether it's going to hearing. That's the point of getting the answers.
Yes, so that would be yes. So through your worship, that would mean that the whole matter is referred back to staff to report back on the issues council has raised and the questions council has raised, and then bring back those answers in addition to a new report for first reading and consideration of public hearing.
and how long of a timeline would we be looking at for that?
Your worship, based on the questions tonight, we could prepare that. It would be in the fall though, because the cutoff date for reports for the last council agenda before the summer break is this week. So we need to probably aim for the first meeting in the fall.
I'm going to allow a quick comment from the applicant.
So I'm going to make a comment here. I've heard the commentary from the council members, but realistically, these matters can be addressed in a condition of the development permit. At this stage, if you're considering delaying this project, we could be out. We cannot afford any more delays. I can tell you that this property has been tried to be developed since 1999 through various developers. Nobody's been able to get anything through the council. The district needs rental housing very, very badly. Every developer is going to have to access the property. Every developer is going to have to deal with the footprint. Every developer is going to have to deal with Lynn Valley Road. These are things that are not unique to our development. So I strongly suggest you don't delay this project any further. If it goes to September, we have a new building code in 2025, this project's up in smoke. So basically what you're deciding today is that if you don't have a specific answer regarding access, or you don't have a specific answer regarding trees, you prefer to have clarity rather than rental housing move forward and have those issues, have staff with a condition on the development permit that we provide the details, which is standard practice. We cannot provide a construction management plan that's at that level of detail at this stage.
I did allow a quick question, not further, please. So the first motion is whether it's to referral. Does anyone else have any comment on the referral? And Sorry, I'm going to ask Mr. Milburn to make any comments on the applicant's comments. Anything?
Nothing to add.
This way, please. Okay, no comments. Okay, question on the referral. Okay, all in favor? Contrary? Defeated. Question on the motion to refer this to public hearing. All in favor? Oppose? Pass. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next we have 8.4, and we have a speaker, sorry. We have a speaker on this. It's the applicant, Adele. Just don't leave. You have 3 minutes to address council.
Yes. Acting Mayor, councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak. This is our second project in Lynn Creek. It's our second rental project. We're happy to be part, hopefully, of the trends that will bring more much needed rental housing, to all our municipalities here in the Lower Mainland. This project includes 7 deeply discounted below market units. We could have decided to do more below market units. That was a choice we had as well at the previous projects, and we decided here again to provide projects that are more discounted, maybe a bit less, but to the maximum capacity of what allows the project to be viable. So while we're 15% below the DNV median rent, that is about 30 to 40% below comparable market units. On all our projects, we want to contribute to building happy communities and combat the pandemic of loneliness and social isolation. So beyond very proactive property management and humane interaction with our tenants, as we always intend to manage our buildings ourselves, we included a large amenity, a large outdoor space, which is designed to create connection and build community within the building. The amenity would work as both a co-working space as well that can be converted into an art studio or maker space. I'm sorry, my daughter has been calling me repeatedly, wondering why I'm not home yet. My apologies, and she's not very far, but I can't answer during the council meeting. So I have maker spaces as well into event spaces. So for residents and for the families, there will also be some opportunity for a fitness area in there. About 30% of our units are larger than average, 2 to 3 bedrooms and designed for families. About 50% of units will have access to parking and will prioritize families for parking. I'm not going to go through the list of all upgrades to road utility. It's a sustainable building, no gas, 100% electricity, and a fleet of 9 shared bicycles. And I just want to say I lost all my close family who used to live here with me in the North Shore to the affordability issue. They moved to the Sunshine Coast after having been evicted literally 9 times in 10 years. So I understand that issue. We're trying to be part of the solution, but we're also working with very strong market forces, and we're trying to do the best we can in that context. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Defer to staff, see if they have any opening comments or presentation.
Yeah, we have, thank you, your acting worship. We have project planner Taylor Jenks providing a introduction. Thank you.
Good evening, Acting Mayor Ma and members of council. The proposal before you this evening is for introduction, second and third reading of bylaws 8693 and 8694, rezoning and housing agreement bylaws for the construction of a 91-unit rental apartment building. As a reminder, recently adopted Bill 44 legislates that public hearings are prohibited for rezonings that are consistent with the OCP. As a result, the bylaws are being considered this evening for first, second, and third readings. The proposed development is located at 1504 to 1520 Rupert Street, at the intersection with Mountain Highway as shown in the image above. The project site includes a portion of District Lane, which will be sold to the developer pending rezoning of the property. Currently located on the site is 4 single-family homes. Surrounding properties include light industrial to the west, multifamily residential to the immediate north and south, and existing single-family properties to the east, which are identified for future multifamily development. Further south, located on Oxford Street, is a 6-story care facility, Creekstone Care Center, a 6-story market rental building, and a 6-story non-market rental building, Salal Apartments. The site is also located in the Lynn Creek transit-oriented area as adopted by Council on June 17th of this year. In compliance with BC government legislation, the minimum allowable density and height under this section of the TOA is 3 FSR and 8 stories. Projects that are consistent with this mandate cannot be rejected on the basis of height and density. Okay. The proposal as seen above is compliant with TOA legislation as it is 6 stories in height with 2.95 FSR. The building includes 84 market rental units and 7 non-market units. The non-market units are to be secured at rates 15% below DNV median rents and are secured in perpetuity in the accompanying housing agreement bylaw. A range of units from studio to 3 beds are being offered and they range in size from 440 to 1,000 square feet. 6 enhanced accessible units are proposed. The main pedestrian access to the building is provided from Rupert Street, with a secondary access on the north side and private entrances to the ground floor units from Mountain Highway and from Rupert. Also on the ground floor is a 1,200 square foot amenity room with adjacent outdoor space. Vehicle access is from Rupert Street at the easternmost edge of the site, which serves 1 level of underground and 51 vehicle parking stalls. 162 bicycle parking stalls are proposed and are located primarily on the ground floor in a secured indoor area. And as the applicant noted, 9 additional bicycles are part of a bike share program and are located on the north side of the site in a partially covered storage area. The project will be contributing the following offsite works valued at nearly $950,000. Contribution to water and sanitary main extensions on Mountain Highway, active transportation improvements to bike lane and sidewalks, new curb, gutter, and paving on both frontages, as well as a turning lane and parking pocket on Rupert Street, and street lighting, boulevard trees, and landscaping. In addition, the project is contributing approximately 115 square meters of land for such works. These improvements have been designed in accordance with the district transportation policies, the Lynn Creek Plan, and in coordination with external agencies. Recognizing that there is no public hearing, it is worth noting the public consultation and council engagement that has been carried out to date. At the preliminary stage, a virtual early input opportunity was held in the summer of 2022, and an information report was provided to council to advise of such. Upon receipt of a detailed application, both an in-person and virtual public information meeting was held for this application in September of 2023. Council was advised by an information report by staff, and the public was notified with signage on site, newspaper ads, and mailouts. 1 person attended the in-person meeting, and 1 additional person left a comment online. The statutory notice was provided in advance of tonight's meeting in accordance with updates to the Local Government Act. And should the application receive adoption, a development permit will be considered by council at a later date. The proposal being considered this evening is contributing to the rental and non-market rental stock recommended by district housing policies with form and density that is compliant that is compliant with recently adopted legislation for transit-oriented areas. Bylaws 8693 and 8694 are ready for first, second, and third readings by council. Sorry, for consideration of first, second, and third readings by council as recommended by staff. Staff are available to answer any questions, and the applicant is as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion? Mr. Councillor Hanson, your motion, please, sir.
Very much. I'd like to
Need the motion,
move the staff recommendation.
Okay. Mr. Hanson, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Acting Mayor Ma. I'd like to commence by thanking everyone involved in this proposal, the staff and the proponent. I know an awful lot of work does go into bringing matters to this stage. I'm very pleased to support this rezoning. I note that there will be no public hearing required as the proposal is consistent with the OCP. The project calls for 91 rental units, 85 of those being market rental and 7 being non-market rental. The proposal has an FSR of 2.95 and is 6 stories in height. Under Bill 47, as has been mentioned, proposals within transit-oriented areas cannot be rejected for height and density if the FSR is 3.0 or less and the building is 8 stories or less. Complying on this proposal complies with those parameters. In my view, both the market rental and especially the non-market rental will contribute to the diversity of housing options in the district in a valuable way. I note that the cheapest affordable rent proposed in this project is $1,245. The affordable rent, proposed affordable rent for the smallest of the units, which is a studio. I note as well that the proposal will result in the sale of a lane allowance for over $1.8 million, funds that can be earmarked for the Land Reserve Fund. The project calls, dealing with the issue of parking, the project calls for a total of 51 parking spaces. Personally, given the proximity to transit and this location, I would be content with 0 parking for this kind of development, and I hope that we consider that in future and as a vehicle to further improve affordability. On the whole, very thankful for the matters being brought forward. Thank you to staff for all their work, and very pleased to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Sorry, Councillor Marie as the seconder.
Thank you. I was going to say there's no public hearing because the province said we can't have any more. Not that because it complies with the OCP. Is this the largest rental project that we've approved in Lower Lynn?
Sorry, just through the mayor, acting mayor, just give us a second. We'll compile that data for you.
Okay, and my other question would be, is there a charge for the parking?
Through the mayor, I think this is a good question for the applicant in terms of how they structure their rents.
We're setting a precedent here, having the applicant speak.
Yes, we will charge for parking. And the reason we will charge for parking is because every single dollar of revenue is necessary for the project to be feasible. And so people who want to have a car will have to pay for parking, and they'll pay whatever the market rate is at that point in time.
And do they pay for storage and bike?
A small contribution. You know, these rental projects right now work only because we have CMHC financing, and CMHC financing, the amount of financing you get is directly related. There's a kind of a big leverage, like every dollar of revenue translates into a certain dollar of subsidized government financing, without which rental wouldn't be possible. So if we charge $25, for example, for a bike stall, or or $30 for a storage space, and I'm just saying, I don't have the exact numbers right now. That helps a lot. That contributes to helping us make the project feasible and have below market units.
And the below market pays the same price as the market units for the amenities, like the parking.
For parking, the idea is that the below market units. One is a 2-bedroom. If that 2-bedroom wants to have a car, despite being a below market, a significantly subsidized unit, I personally, this is just my opinion, and I would have to ask my partners. I would think that it's only fair that if they want to use a car, that they should be paying parking, because we have transit right below, and if they're, but yeah, so that's my opinion. The other units are more likely not to be family units or to be young couples, and in which case, given the proximity to FIPS exchange, we would really highly encourage them to, use transit.
Thank you. So just to staff, is council going to be presented with the parking plan for Lower Lynn? When will that be coming forward, given that there is a charge for parking? We know what that's done in Maplewood. Street parking has been taken up by, so where, do we have a parking plan that we've put in place where it's time limited parking or?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Ma. I understand Peter Cohen is available online to answer questions with respect to engineering matters. Just conversed with him recently, so I'm expecting he's still available online to respond.
Thanks, Mr. Milburn. Through the mayor, so we're just resourcing up that particular role right now within engineering within the coming days, and then we will have a dedicated resource to be looking at parking, and that will include looking at the town centres and the towers that this particular development relates to.
Okay, thank you. So I'd just like to thank you for coming and speaking, because the province has taken away this requirement where we used to give the community an opportunity to give us their thoughts on these applications and the changing and evolution of the community. And because if we don't support this, well, we're not sure what happens. One of us may go to jail. We all might go to jail. We're not really sure. But the province has told us that these things should just be approved, and we haven't tested turning any of them down yet. So I appreciate you coming and being away from your family. I appreciate as well, do we have the answer if this is the largest rental?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Murray. So this is fairly similar to all the other rental project in the area. So the Creekstone Care Center is 180 beds, senior care.
It's not the same kind of, yeah, I'm just talking about the market rental. I mean,
So-
that's a different kind of development.
I appreciate that for sure. So 1550 Oxford, 88 unit.
Okay.
Salal apartment, 90 unit. And then 1565 Rupert, 95 rental unit.
Yeah.
And then the phase one of Celine, 80 units.
Yeah. And Mr. Cohen, now that I know that you're online, the issue of this land sits on a floodplain. And so there's obvious concerns in regards to water as well. If you look at the developments around FIPS Exchange, there's no shelter from the heat. We have a power outage right now in the Maplewood and part of the Seymour because a tree's fallen on some lines. The power won't be returned till 1 a.m. and it's one of the warmest nights of the summer so far. And so there's some grumpy residents texting me, wondering when the power is going to go back on. I think in the future, we'll probably see what's happened in California with blackouts, because we don't have the energy needed to run all the electricity needs that we've got in our community. And we're taking out the canopy. The urban canopy is disappearing from climate change, from redevelopment, as I've said in my previous comments on another item. And I really think that we have to be very cautious of what we're doing in these neighborhoods, where once we were a single family community, and that but Lower Lynn was filled with large stands of trees. You can see them now. They do provide shade, they provide shelter, and they provide work for the amount of water that this municipality needs to manage. And so I really think council needs to have a broad discussion about these impacts, and not only for what they're going to do in the future with these increased systems that we've got, but how they're going to affect the livability of these neighborhoods. You know, there's been studies done, Metro Vancouver's received studies in regards to the heat level in Mount Pleasant versus the heat level in Kitsilano. It's orange and red in Mount Pleasant, it's blue and green in Kitsilano. And that's concerning when we have these very warm days and evenings. I will support this project going forward. You've been in front of us before, and I find you, you know, I find your care for your projects inspiring, I'll say, because I truly believe that you're trying to create a product for people that are living here, that want to stay here. And it's a very challenging time to do that. So I appreciate the time that you've put into this project.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Are there any other speakers? Going once? Okay. For myself, I'd like to make some comments. The key to me is this, regardless of government overstep, or council did adopt Bill 47 back in June. And this proposal also comprises of 91 rental units, of which 7 are below market. I just hope that that also will translate to some affordability, but below market is a start for me. And it, as a staff report, and thank you very much for the staff working on this, it does contribute to our housing needs report and our provincial housing targets. So those are the reasons why I will support this as well. If I don't hear any other comments, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Oppose? None? Great, thank you. This next item is related to the previous one. It talks about the highway closure and dedication removal. I'm going to turn to staff to see if there's any.
I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Any preliminary comments? No? Okay, good. Do I have someone that will make a motion? Councilor Murray moved it. Seconder? Okay. Any comments first as the mover? Seconder?
I'll just emphasize that this is, for any of the public watching, this is sales to enable the development of a lane allowance, which would otherwise be of no utility or no benefit to the district. It will result in over $1.8 million becoming available to the Land Opportunity Fund, and in so doing, we hope will render a benefit to the district through that means. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Thank you very much. Now I believe this is the last agenda item. 8.6, the bylaw introduction of off-street residential parking in TOAs. Mr. Milburn, any opening comments?
Thank you very much. Acting Mayor Ma. This is just a reminder, council's seen this item recently. This is a fulfillment of a requirement under the Bill 47 to adjust the parking standards within the transit-oriented areas. At the time, questions were responded to, and this is just the follow-up bylaws for council's consideration.
Do I have someone to make the motion? Councillor Hansen, and second by Councillor Back. Any discussion?
I'll keep my comments extremely brief, except to say that this bylaw amendment is mandated by the provincial government's Bill 47.
Correct. Councillor Back,
And no further comment.
Councillor Murray.
I'm not going to be supporting this. I don't think the province even knows what this area looks like in regards to Capilano College. It picks up an entire area that is nowhere near a transit-oriented hub or a bus depot. I don't understand why the provincial government has unilaterally decided that the Cap College area and the surrounding area, of which a river and an escarpment and a neighborhood on a floodplain, is somehow close to transit. So I take exception to this kind of planning and this kind of determination for areas that could see significant density. It's certainly not how we've planned our OCP or how we plan our neighborhoods or municipalities. Within the municipality, we try to achieve a balance and try to look at the surrounding area and create a livable area. But to suggest that as the crow flies, that this is somehow a transit area is ridiculous. It's not. There's one way into this community, and you walk over a mile to get to a bus. And the province doesn't understand that. And I'm not sure why we we're bringing this forward because we've been told to do this by the provincial government. Have we, through staff, written a letter in regards to the fact that half of this neighborhood in the Capilano area does not exist near a transit depot? Have we let them know that? And if we haven't, why not?
Please.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to comment. Yes, the answer is yes. We've responded to the province in terms of raising all the concerns that council's brought forward to staff, concerns with respect to servicing, concerns with respect to access, and concerns with respect to proximity to the actual transit hub itself. And many other communities have raised similar concerns with the province. Thank you.
Yeah, it just boggles my mind how we just, I'd love to test this. I wish I had support to test this and defeat the thing and see what happens. I'm so curious because this is just, this is backwards in my opinion. So I won't be supporting it. Oh, I'm just going to add, because I know I have time left. And it's not because I haven't tried. In fact, 2 councils ago, after Sealand, but as Lower Lynn was being built out, we had a workshop and it was about transportation. And I proposed at that workshop that we remove all the parking in Lower Lynn. All the parking in Lower Lynn, get rid of it because it was on a flat area. It was close to Phibbs Exchange. And we were creating a bicycle network. And I had no support. I had no support for that idea, and it never went anywhere. So it's not without trying that I have looked at the cost of parking and underground parking and why are we putting parking in certain areas. But with this, it's just they looked at a map, a flat map, and thought, oh, Cap College looks like a good place to put a transit depot, and had no understanding or idea as to what was surrounding it. And I have a big problem with that. That's ignorance.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Murray. Any other comments before I give mine? I share the concerns that are raised at this council table that there's some provincial overstep on municipal areas of jurisdiction. Having said that, council did adopt this bylaw that was consistent with Bill 47. This new bylaw here is just to be compliant with it. So it's something that we're required to do, as Councillor Hanson mentioned. So hearing that there's no other speakers, I'm going to call the vote. Under the wire. Counselor Forbes.
Just a quick comment back to your comments. It may have passed through council, but all of us didn't vote for TOA overreach. Just a comment.
I will save my comments that decisions made by council are council's decision, but
Question.
I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Contrary? Pass. And I believe that's looking to the clerk. Is that our last agenda item?
Thank you, through your worship. Yes, that's the end of the regular business.
I did get under 10 o'clock, but
I know, and there's that.
I'm going to hold off reports until the next council meeting. So please save those. We have adjournment. Thank you very much.